Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. We're going to look back here at the year-to-date percent of normal precipitation, and this is really going to tell us what the pattern has delivered so far this year, because when we start in a few moments to compare it to where we're going, you're going to see the changes, I think, hopefully shown up pretty clearly here. It's been very, very dry in the west. There are some places in the west that have not yet measured precipitation in 2022. We've seen parts of the Midwest, specifically this region right in through here, that's missed out on a lot of snow, missed out on a lot of precipitation, but we have as of late helped kind of work against the drought situation that's been in the southern plains. As you can see, we're working our way to the east, and over the east, especially this large area here from the Carolinas to the mid-Atlantic, we've sat anywhere between 100 to 175% of normal in precipitation, and that's really drawn back on the risk of drought moving forward throughout the rest of winter into early spring. But we do have some shifts that are about to take place, and I'm going to explain those to you in just a few moments, because where we've been has really given us, has given us some pretty chilly air so far to start this year. You know, when you look here at the temperature ranks by climate district, we can see that the pattern has largely favored more ridging in the west and dropped several troughs across the eastern part of the United States. Now, there's been those troughs that have helped revive the precipitation here, but it's also delivered quite a bit of cold air, and that's one of the big things that's going to start to change. So let's talk about why it's going to change. First, got to go to ocean temperatures. When we look here across the planet, we still are watching our La Nina slowly fade. I told you it's going to take a long time for this to go away, and at times, as we keep saying, it's going to kind of kick and scream its way out. And right now we got some really strong trade winds that have temporarily showed back up, but overall the ocean temperatures are showing a bit of a warming trend. Now, what's important about that is to look at where the atmosphere is going to be producing the majority of its rising motion. And what that's going to do is it's going to start here, somewhere in India, really near India and Sri Lanka, and then move into what we call phases 4, 5, and maybe over into phase 6 eventually. Now, there's significance to this. You're going, why do we keep talking about the tropics? Because what happens in the tropics ultimately affects the jet stream, and that jet stream passes over us and ultimately affects our weather patterns. You see, the atmosphere is set up to exhaust the heat and the momentum out of the tropics and send it into the extratropics, which is where we live. So that's where we're watching this so carefully. Now, the forecasts for that pattern, that MJO pattern, take us out of phase 3, a place we've not been in a long time. In fact, it's been since early last fall that we've been here, through phases 4 and eventually into 5. And I want to talk to you about the time we're going to spend in phase 3 of the MJO, which is over the Indian Ocean, okay? Because history would tell us this. We tend to get southeast ridging. We tend to get blocked in the Pacific with a big high here with a low over the North Atlantic. It tends to give us a more zonal flow in the jet stream pattern. And the ridge that has been parked over the west tends to back up. It tends to move back toward the west. Now, what's the significance of that? The significance of this is just a very active Tennessee and Ohio River Valley storm track. And you know what that does? It drags fronts through us. It increases our precipitation, and it really affects us. And what's helping all of this out is that here, in what we call the Arctic Oscillation area, this is in the North Atlantic into the Arctic, the values are going positive. Now, if you look, they bounced around a lot. But this is probably the strongest signal going toward positive values I've seen in a while. So what does all that mean, and how do we boil it down into some important forecast parameters? Well, it means that the block that had been sitting over the west, I'm talking about this high over low block. Do you see it? There's a high pressure cell here. There's a low pressure cell there. That block, which had sat over the west for so much of January and early February, has already begun to move itself in this direction. And this is the first trough you're going to have to pay attention to, this guy right here, and I'll show you in a few moments. What this also means is that that starts to shift around. The troughs that you see here are also going to move in this direction. And the ridge that's out there will start to become a more common feature in the southeastern United States. So you see how we're shifting this whole pattern to the west. Now, should we expect that to occur? Absolutely. If the MJO is going to move into phase 3 and stick there for a while, you better believe it. That's what we're going to get out of it. But the net effect of all of this is seen by looking at those troughs and ridges. Are you ready? As we play this through, we're kind of going fast here, okay? We get the ridge developing over the east late this week. That's going to bring a big warm-up. This deep trough cuts through the Four Corner states, comes out in the southern plains, and we're going to talk about what that one does for precip. Shot at cold air comes through. But watch what happens to the pattern as I get you out there to the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd of the month. We go back into a pattern that dives troughs here with some ridging in this area. That's going to change our temperature, and that's going to change our precipitation patterns. If you just boil down the next 15 days, this area goes over very active. Now, I know you might be tempted to look at this and say, but I see dry conditions in through here. And I say, yeah, that's right. You're going to see that because the model is using the pattern to predict where it's going to be most active. But we know that storm systems that roll through here bring their fronts through us and increase our chances for precipitation as well. And I guess the long story short is, I see this being an active pattern for the mid-south to the northeast, and we get kind of caught in the aftermath of that as these storm systems roll through. So the new long-range European model for the month of February has us with a neutral bias to wet in terms of precipitation, with the most active weather really in the eastern Corn Belt here. But major shifts for the Pacific Northwest in through this area. And what's going to happen is we're going to see if this pattern can also eat away at the drought that's here and the drier conditions that are in the northern plains. All of that will be critical for the upcoming growing season. With the shifting around of that ridge, though, take a look at the temperature anomalies. Yeah, March could see more warmer days than colder days, and when the cold air does come through, it's going to be relatively quick. I've got multi-model support on this as well. I'm seeing this from the not only the European, but also the CFSV2. Even the National Weather Service has kind of bit into that pattern. So in the near term, what are we watching? Well, this was the coastal low that moved through, and it's all the way out into the northeast now. High pressure builds in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the high pressure started here and it moves right there over this part of the North Atlantic. Now, we understand how this works. That high pressure system sits there, the flow comes around it, and what we're going to be seeing here on Wednesday is a major warm up in temperatures. And then what happens by Wednesday, getting into Thursday morning, large low pressure system takes shape right in through here and runs along a front connected to a clipper that's now in parts of the Canadian Maritimes, which today is sitting right here. So this whole system is moving quickly forward. But what happens is on Thursday, we get into the competition between two highs. There's one here and there's one there. So one is bringing flow like this, the other's bringing flow like that, and they just sit and meet on this frontal boundary. So what we get is Thursday going into Thursday night to Friday morning. All of that slowly, it takes about 24 to 36 hours, moves over us. So outside of some scattered showers mid to late week, it's going to be really getting into Thursday night to Friday morning, Friday afternoon and evening, that front clears through. Now the atmosphere goes right back into reset mode. And another trough drops down Monday into Tuesday. See it there? Just again, Tuesday pulls right through and hits us again maybe next week. So we're looking at about a system per week as we set up this new flow pattern. So how much rain are we anticipating? Well, just kind of zooming in here on the southeast, the numbers overlaid are in inches. Over the next week, as this system rolls through, you generally see the wettest conditions over the Appalachian Mountains, between 3/4 of an inch, in some places almost up to 2 inches of rainfall. But then as you see the front, as it comes through, bringing in some scattered showers and storms. And again, this is late this week that this is going to occur. Our rainfall totals may be somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch of rainfall. But that's just system number one. Remember, there's a second system that rolls through after that. And that second system, doesn't matter which model I show you, is all going to be setting up on this ridge moving farther to the west, the flow dipping down like this, and there it is. See that southeast ridge? The flow's got to make the turn. It comes right over the top of it. So I could show you the European, I could show you the GFS, doesn't matter. They both say the same story. Keep this area active into week 2 as well. And I know you're saying, well, I see the drier colors. I'm telling you, this is going to bring in another round of precipitation through this area and continue to keep us with above average precipitation moving to the end of February and the beginning of March. Now, will the pattern continue into March? We saw earlier that it likely could do that, but you need to be watching. If you say, Eric, what should I watch? Watch the Gulf of Alaska to the Aleutian Islands. That seems to be where this pattern is setting up. Now watch what it's going to do to our temperatures. We just start off with today's highs. We're still in the cold air here. But as we go forward, this is Tuesday. Whoops, sorry. Let's try that again. There's Tuesday. Mild air in the middle part of the country. Wednesday spreads to us. Thursday, very mild for this time of year. Temperatures are going to be anywhere between about 8 and 16 degrees above average here. But now you see the front that's coming through. But Friday, mild day, because that front doesn't really get through here till midday Friday. And then it cools us off for the weekend. So we're going to see building temperatures throughout this week. Now, let's take that and stretch it out. And notice this. At this point, when we shift the pattern around and develop that southeastern ridge, with the Arctic oscillation going positive, all the cold air likes to stay north. So day 5 through 10, mild conditions. Day 10 through 15, even more mild. Because remember what the jet stream's doing? Big ridge, trough, ridge. So this is the pattern I see setting up for a while here for us as we finish this month and begin March. And I think it's going to be one that initially will favor more warm days than cool days, but a very active pattern. Plan on a system about once a week. That's what we're going through here. Very quickly, let me take you to another part of the world. Let's go down to South America. I just put together a summary slide here. The planting progress, the harvest progress in Mato Grosso. So they're trying to get a crop out. That would be the soybeans. They're 60% harvested so far. A year ago, they were only 22% harvested. You can see here that the forecast is for near normal rains in Mato Grosso. And there's about 30 to 35% of the growing area in South America is right there. Their safrinha corn crop is going in very quickly as well. They're at 57% planted. A year ago, they were at 20.9. So this is a prime spot that's, having a quick go of it here. It's extremely wet over toward Bahia. This is Minas Gerais and Goiás. That's those three areas there. They do plant a lot of the safrinha crop there too, but they're delayed quite a bit. We're dry across big sections of southern Brazil, and it's been quite dry for the last week or so in that area, as you can see up here in this figure in the upper right. Down into Argentina, right along the Paraná River, which runs right in through here, very dry conditions in through this area. And that's a region that since February started, we've seen go back over toward drought. So there's still major issues going on in South America we're going to have to continue to monitor. But with that, I'm going to wrap this one up and hope you all have a good rest of your week. And I'll bring you another forecast video next Monday. Thanks.